Glad to have you once again. Telecommunication companies in Nigeria are worried that the construction of the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway could damage undersea cables that are vital for internet connectivity in the country. The Lagos-Calabar coastal highway corridor serves as a crucial landing point for multiple submarine cables connecting Nigeria to Europe. The coastal project could disrupt uplink facilities and submarine cables crucial for international communications. Hence, the telcos are urging the Ministry of Works to consult with them on the project and to take steps to avoid damaging the cables. I'm now joined by Mayowa Salami, Associate Director of Financial Advisory Services, Andersen Nigeria. Thank you, Mayowa, for joining me today. Good morning to you too. Well, it seems the famous... All right. It seems the famous Lagos-Calabar coastal highway will cost Nigerians and even businesses much more than was anticipated. What do you make of this?
Right, thank you so much. Thank you for having me once again. Yes, so I think to give a bit of a background to this project. So this project is a 700-kilometer project to cost 13 trillion and they span about 8 years. Definitely in the news, the project has, has a lot of negative impacts to the host communities, especially when we look at the recent happenings. So we have the demolition of current businesses and assets and infrastructure within the host communities. And as the project is, going on in full force, we definitely see that, there's definitely going to be some other issues that can come along, in the short term. So all this impact that we're seeing right now, I would like to say that short-term measures, right? However, it's important that we have a long-term view in terms of the benefits that the project can accrue to Nigerians, once completed. But I definitely agree that yes, in this current short to medium term, there's some issues and some costs that Nigerians will have to bear with as the project is starting off.
For some of us, when we hear short term, we remember how that the reforms that were undertaken by this particular administration are also supposed to have short-term troubles, and we're not out of those troubles yet. And I hope this one will not take us that long. But away from it, aren't you worried about this? Because it would seem Nigerians do not follow roadmaps, or is it that these roadmaps are probably hid away somewhere, and people are not aware, they just keep building? I mean, who do we even blame for things like this?
So I get you. I understand where you're coming from with this question. So I think the real issue here is that this particular coastal project has been envisaged right even from 1950s, right? And there's already a layout and a map with regards to how the road or the coastal expressway should be developed, right? There have been some concerns that yes, it has been moved from one place to other, but at the end of the day, the question is, what will be the long-term play and how will it benefit the overall populace? I think that's the
Mayowa, let me come in here. I understand there is a long-term benefit, but if we are aware that a particular plane is going to be used for certain things, should we then allow businesses, should we allow some form of development on that particular plane only to come demolish? I mean, even when we talk about compensations, people do not necessarily get something that's commensurate. So why do we need to keep going over this over and over again? Why don't we nip it in the bud and ensure that we don't always come back to this?
So I get you. If you look at it, and I think even based on the Constitution of Nigeria, right, the whole land belongs to the federal government. At the end of the day, yes, permits are given, surveys are done, but if you look at what will be the impact to the general populace, right? And what will be the long-term benefits as well? Sometimes we have to let go, as the case may be, to say that, yes, we have to do this sort of project. And I would say that, due compensation should be given to those that are really affected by this project, right? And, and also ensure that, going forward, we have the right course and, if something has been put to paper, let us, establish that this is how it's going to be done going forward. So that would be the advice to both, those affected as well as the government as well.
Well, telecommunication companies have sort of expressed concerns over possible connectivity disruptions. According to them, they are saying that there is a significant risk involved, and they're also warning that any destruction could lead to total disruption and severe economic consequences. I mean, this is something I'd really like to get your thoughts on, but let's go on this time out. When we come back, we'll start from here. That's an stay with us, but we're still talking about the complaint of telco operators. Mayowa Salami is with me. Thank you, Mayowa Salami, for staying with me.
Thank you.
All right, so before we went on that timeout, I was asking you about the level of disruption that is anticipated. So talk to us, what level of disruption can Nigerians sort of expect as a result of this construction work?
All right, thanks. So I would like to start by saying that the concerns of the telco companies are really valid as a result of the construction that's going on. As we speak today, and as we all know, the submarine cables, that bring in internet connectivity, comes in through this coastal region as well. And with this ongoing construction, there's a risk of destruction to the submarine cables, right? So I would like to cast our minds back to what happened earlier this year in March 14, when we had a fiber cut, right? And what that led to. We had a lot of disruptions in terms of internet connectivity. We had disruptions in terms of banking transactions, failure in banking transactions. We had a lot of disruptions, with people doing businesses, companies were unable to transact. So if this risk of destruction of a fiber cut truly occurs, this is something that we should be, getting prepared for, as, it's imminent to happen as, the coastal way is also along where the fiber cables come into the country, right? So these are things that, the construction companies should be aware of and to be ready to deal with it as well.
All right, but don't you think this is too costly a price to pay, looking at the fact that this particular corridor serves as a crucial landing point for multiple submarine cables connecting Nigeria to Europe? Or can we be assured of minimal impact and some sort of swift resolution of whatever disruption this will cause?
Yeah, it's quite costly, to be honest. Let's take, for example, the last time this fiber cut happened, it was estimated that it cost between $1 million to $2 million to actually repair this fiber cut, depending on the severity of the damage. So definitely this is quite a very risky venture and it's quite pricey. In terms of the minimal, cause of occurrence or risk of occurrence, right? I think for me, it's for the construction company, in this case, ITEC, and the federal government to really work with, the relevant stakeholders, in the telco space and see how, a proper assessment is done, to ensure that there's minimal disruption to the fiber cable, or create some sort of alternative backbone solution or backhaul solution, right? So in case where there's meant to be some construction that will lead to the cuts of the current existing infrastructure that we have, some sort of backup is available, to Nigerians, so that there won't be any significant disruption to the internet connectivity, as this will have significant impact to economic transactions in Nigeria.
Well, don't you think it's saddening that there wasn't a robust stakeholder engagement before the federal government embarks on this project? And we're not even sure if the telcos have been able to secure a meeting with the ministry in charge of this. Isn't that saddening?
Well, I agree with you. I also read in the news some time ago, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, that, the Association of the Telco Operators of Nigeria have had to, request for a meeting with the federal government in regards to the coastal construction, right? To air their views on how the construction may affect the submarine cables. So in my own opinion, I think it's important that federal governments really have these conversations with them. As this construction is going on, they would definitely have some technical expertise on how to minimize any sort of disruption that will occur, right? So if those conversations and if those stakeholder engagements haven't happened, this would be a clarion call for that to happen as soon as possible, because right now the construction, I would say, is still at the early stages. But as construction goes on, and I understand that we're already getting to the point where the submarine cables are laid, so it's important that we have those conversations with the stakeholders, get their buy-in, get the technical experience and the know-how, so that we can have a smooth transition, especially when it comes to this development of that area, especially.
I like how that you made reference to what happened in March and how that would cost about $2 million. And I'm asking, if the federal government doesn't have this meeting with telco operators, what happens when this damage, if there is any damage, and who is going to pay for it? I guess that's a rhetorical question. Thank you so much, Salami, for coming on the show today. Mayowa Salami, Associate Director of Financial Advisory Services, Andersen Nigeria. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.